Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Raana Sarmad and I'm the country head of Beaconhouse International Colleges, Pakistan. I'm your host for today's session and I welcome you all to this webinar to explore and discuss the pathways and opportunities provided by transnational higher education in Pakistan. Though the term is very familiar for us, but I would like to explain it for our students and viewers. Transnational higher education is a term used for internationalization. It means a qualification that is provided to you in your home country by international universities or institutions. It's the concept of borderless education. So you can get a degree without relocating and of the same value that you get while studying abroad. This involves higher educational institutes delivering their educational services in any other country rather than the students traveling to the foreign universities to study. Today we have in our panelists representatives from few of the oldest provider of such degrees in Pakistan. I would now like to move on to the formal introduction of our panelists. We have with us Mr. Nassir Kasuri. Mr. Nassir Kasuri is the CEO of Beaconhouse International Colleges. He is also the executive director and one of the board member of Beaconhouse Group. He is the head of Beaconhouse Energy Limited, a company focused on providing renewable energy solutions. Mr. Kasuri is also a board member of Knowledge Platform, which envisions connecting artificial intelligence and machine learning to education in Pakistan. He is also the chairman of Board of Tech for Pakistan, an organization aiming to improve education in government schools by providing unique teaching internship opportunities to graduates from Pakistani universities. We have Dr. Paul Dudley with us. Dr. Paul Dudley is a senior lecturer in strategy with a focus on teaching methods and approaches to strategy development. Paul's experience of higher education include UK states and private universities, commercially oriented higher educational providers alongside European and non-European settings. He is the director Distance Learning University of London Worldwide, and he is also the program director for BBA at Royal Holloway University of London. We have Mr. Saad Wasim. Mr. Saad Wasim is the regional advisor South Asia for University of London Worldwide. He has been with the university for the last 5 years and has been instrumental in the growth of University of London programs in South Asia, specifically Pakistan. He is responsible for the market development and works very closely to support all key stakeholders, including recognized teaching centers, key employers, students and alumni, bar councils, regulators, and the bar councils of Pakistan and British Council, Saad is an alumni of UK renowned University of Kent, and has an experience of working in education sector for more than 10 years on a senior leadership role. Ms. Alina Zainab Alvi. Ms. Alina Zainab Alvi is currently working as the head of policy and legal affairs at Kareem's Network Pakistan Private Limited. Alina has a postgraduate law degree from the University of Warwick, UK, and did her undergraduate law degree from University of London Worldwide. She is an alumni of University of London, and she is also a High Court enrolled legal practitioner with a wide range of experience related to civil and corporate work. Thank you all for joining us today to discuss the prospects of transnational higher education in Pakistan. Beaconhouse stepped into the transnational education landscape a year ago. The college is an initiative of Beaconhouse Group, which is currently one of the largest education provider of the world, with over 300,000 students in 8 countries. So I would like Mr. Nassir Kasuri to give us an insight into the Beaconhouse initiative of Beaconhouse International College. Mr. Nassir Kasuri, over to you.
Thank you, Raana, for the introduction. Yeah, it is indeed a pleasure to be part of this panel discussion, and I'm sure some really interesting things will come out of it. So essentially, as Raana said, Beaconhouse is now getting close to 45 years old, and in that time, we've developed a reputation for exceptional student results and student learning outcomes. It is, I think, predominantly due to that that we've been able to grow as much as we have. As Rana said, over Miss Rana, over 300,000 students in 8 countries. And we're very proud this year to be adding another offering to our education portfolio. We've been very K to 12 focused for the last 45 years, and I think it's one of the reasons we've done so well in that space. But obviously, as an organization, I think we've developed the bandwidth now, to be able to do other things successfully and translate some of that experience to learning outcomes at the undergraduate level also. Um, One of the indications of the success of our students has in fact been our international university placement program, which until now is focused on actual international universities. We're really proud that our we've had a lot of placements, not just quantitatively but qualitatively. A lot of students getting into Ivy League and Russell Group universities over the years. And just to give you an idea of the quantum of what's going on with this program, essentially, we've had in the last admission cycle, we had 4,200 acceptances internationally, and almost $100 million in scholarship, amongst our students. So not only are they getting into universities, but universities really want them to come because they realize that these students can add value to their community as well. So they're getting full scholarships, partial scholarships, and quite a lot really. So that's something we're very proud of. But as proud as we are of their international placements, and we hope those continue, we want to provide more opportunities for students to receive these excellent educational opportunities, without having to travel so far and while staying in the safety of their own homes. And I think this has sort of like become even more pressing now with COVID, even though, we envisaged this project pre-COVID, but I think it's even more relevant now in the COVID and post-COVID era. Where traveling overseas has not just become unsafe, but in some cases impossible, because you can't get visas or countries are just being really cautious now. And even if you could go, you may not want to go. So it's really become very very relevant. But at the same time, we have such a huge number of students that do want to get international university education. So I mean, even though this program is targeted at all students, eligible students in Pakistan, we have about 4,000 O level, 2,400 A level, and 400, 1,400 metric students graduating from Beaconhouse every year. And we felt that it's really integral to give them quality progression opportunity, where they can expect the same teaching and learning outcomes and teaching methodology that they've gotten used to in Beaconhouse, and not be disadvantaged, perhaps because they don't want to or can't travel abroad in the current circumstances. So that's really the thought process behind behind BIC. And the germination of the idea really comes from that, the realization of that reality. um, so essentially, as Ms. Rana said, transnational education programs give our students the opportunity to access the same teaching methodologies and course material that they would get overseas, but within Pakistan. These programs are overseen by our international university partners, and they have to be kept completely compliant with their teaching methodology, and the learning outcomes need to be assured. So, students can be confident that they're really not losing out on anything when they opt for these programs. What's more, these programs also, if you do want to go overseas, because going overseas is about more than just studying. If you want that international university experience, they give you the flexibility of doing a couple of years in Pakistan and then doing a final year overseas, which actually allows you to save cost and get that overseas experience. And it's so for students that do want to go overseas, it represents tremendous value for money really. Um, and I think very importantly, these programs all conform to our vision of 21st century education, both in terms of their teaching methodology and learning outcomes. So, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about, what is 21st century education, and how are these programs relevant to that. So, I mean, we recently had the School of Tomorrow conference, where we brought in thinkers from all over the world. And, one of the things that we were really reflecting on is the relevance of the current education system, with the world becoming more automated and AI now taking over a lot of functions. There's really only going to be a place for knowledge workers in the modern economy. So, depending on what research estimates you look at, anywhere between 45 to 50% of the jobs that exist today are not going to exist in the next couple of decades, maybe even sooner than that. So this includes many mid-management and senior management roles, also. Um, And so, the simple fact of the matter is that AI has become extremely good at performing data analysis and logic-based jobs, even like fairly complex logic. Eventually, due to economic compulsions, it's just much cheaper. A lot of employers are going to choose to reduce their workforce and move towards AI. So, how do you sort of prepare students for this future where many logic-based tasks are going to be, performed by AI? So basically, it's to address this challenge. The Beaconhouse itself has been focusing, even in its K to 12 program, on building 21st century skills. I mean, I feel that this is really where we can add value. If we just teach them subjects, it's not going to serve them well in the future. So essentially, as with our school education programs, we want our undergraduate programs to have a focus on research skills, creative thinking, and group work. And these are the kind of skills we believe are going to be integral for success in the modern economy. These are essentially skills which are intrinsically human, and they're not logic based, which means that at least for the foreseeable future, there will be a demand for human beings to be active in jobs that require core competence and core competencies in these skills. So that is really what our focus has been. Um, the programs that we were launching today, we believe that they represent a complete commitment to the acquisition of this integral skill set. We believe that UOL and Beacon House's vision is very aligned in this respect. Um, so they also, as I said before, represent unparalleled value in that you can get this access to this amazing program, which are already built on developing 21st century skills within Pakistan. So we're really proud to have partnered with the University of London, and I'm thankful to their representatives for being here with us today for the launch of some of their most popular programs in BIC this year, Beaconhouse International College. These programs will be available in some of Pakistan's largest cities to begin with, and we're looking at growing the number of locations and number of programs available in the coming years. You know, so over time, we hope that a large majority of the students in Pakistan, including Beaconhouse students, will have easy access to these programs. It's a very exciting journey for us at Beacon House. It's a big step. We have had had a bit of a foray into undergraduate education through Beacon House National University, but that's only in Lahore, and it's slightly different. It doesn't, it's not geographically spread out, and it has a very specific focus. So it doesn't necessarily, meet the needs and aspirations of all of our students. I think the idea now is that with BIC and with the increasing portfolio that it's going to have going forward, it's going to really fit the bill for a lot of our students and give them the type of progression and quality that they're accustomed to. And again, ensure that they are 21st century knowledge workers once they get out of this program. So I'm, really excited to be part of this discussion, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the views of the rest of our panelists. And I'd like to thank Ms. Rana for having me here and for arranging this amazing event. And yeah, that's it as far as I'm concerned. Over to you, Rana.
Thank you, Mr. Nassir Kasuri. BIC indeed is a great platform for our learners to explore world-class education without having to travel to the world. When we talk about the oldest provider of transnational education in Pakistan, University of London predominantly stands out as one of the biggest provider of these qualifications. So I would request Dr. Paul Dudley to give us a little insight into these qualifications and specifically the ones being provided by Royal Holloway. So,
well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for organising this event. We're really excited by Beaconhouse and the plans that Beaconhouse has in place. Certainly, if you look at what Nassir was talking about with AI, we're seeing quite a big move in the world today. And Europe, and in particular Germany, kicked this off with something called Industry 4.0 over a decade ago, which essentially is about the Internet of Things, how connectivity is going to work in the future. And 5G and other technologies are a big part of that. Now, clearly, that's going to be a major part of doing business and working and managing in the future. But of course, there's still going to be some room for traditional approaches as well. And so the new program, which was launched just over a year ago, or just under a year ago, is directed at addressing future trends. So embedded in the course, going back to what was being spoken about by Nassir, the CEO, there are key skills that have been embedded in the program. So it's been completely updated a year ago with key skills embedded into the program, including around social media, internet, and other more traditional skills around problem solving and so on, and critical thinking, how we view problems in different ways and from different perspectives. The content is closely aligned with our campus provision. So students that take the program will receive a similar experience in terms of the knowledge and the modules that you would receive on campus. And I think one of the benefits of that is that it allows transferability. So it goes back to what Nassir was saying with cost as well. It's much cheaper to study overseas, in country, a fraction of the cost. I think it's something like 5 to 6 times, it literally is multiples of savings. But there is also the option to come to Royal Holloway and receive or experience the Royal Holloway campus in Egham, which is just outside of London, both in the second year or for final year entry. There are certain requirements required for that in terms of entry, and also subject to personal statements and references and so on. But we have also put in place this transferability, which recognises equivalence. It's a University of London degree, the BBA. So the BBA is how we generally describe the qualification, although it stands for business, BSc in Business Administration. There are general, the program itself, it has that transferability element to the UK. It's awarded by the University of London. You can come and study at Royal Holloway and be awarded a Royal Holloway qualification. That is one of the features of the program, but the other feature is the knowledge. Key part has been the updating of the knowledge over the past couple of years when we were developing the program, and that is now fit for the next 5 years. And we're continuously improving and honing that. So we have our own review processes in place to develop the program over the next 5 years. But nonetheless, it's had a major overhaul in the last year. A huge amount of expertise put into the program from our own faculty, but also resource in terms of how we develop learning. So the support to the learning is a key feature. The way people learn, in my view, when we look at transnational education or education in country coming to the UK, the way students learn and the way people generally learn has changed. 20 years ago when I was studying, my professor would tell me to go and read 10 books and to think about the ideas presented in those books and then write an essay or sit an exam over that. Fundamentally, the way we learn has been shaped by the internet. The internet Most of us, when we've got a problem to solve, usually, certainly my first port of call is to look online and try and find the answer online. And we try to find the answers relatively quickly. So an article that I'm writing at the moment is all around this idea of how the internet is shaping the way we learn as individuals. And so that's embedded into the program as well. It's based around small parts of learning, which we call bite-sized learning, whereby there'll be specific activities around a particular subject leading up to a short presentation, leading up to follow-up activities. So it's all designed to engage students and engage people that are looking at the program. And that's a key feature of the program. It's not about saying, we expect you to read these 10 books and then to sit an exam. And I think the other key point about the program is that we also recognize that we learn and we, some of us are better at exams than others. Exams are a particular way of assessing knowledge and development. And one of the key features we wanted to put into the new program was other types of assessment. So we've introduced a piece of coursework as well, which recognizes that some students will be better at preparing for coursework than maybe they are at preparing for exams. So we're trying to level the playing field by having different types of assessment in the program. And rather than that assessment all be at the end of a module in May generally, so we have our exams in May on the program, rather than assessing everything at one point in time, the coursework assesses learning earlier in the module as well, so just after Christmas. So it allows for more continuous development of your learning, which again mirrors how we learn in life, that we don't just learn and prepare for one particular point, we continuously learn. So there are a number of features that are in the program which we believe passionately, well, I believe passionately, are a real step forward on the previous version of the business administration degree. We have that transferability element, which I talked about. The program itself has been updated significantly to take account of the skills required now and in the future. Likewise, similarly with the knowledge. So there's been quite a significant rethink of the program, and including how we deliver that program, how students learn. So move towards this activity-based approach based on smaller bits of learning, which build up towards bigger, larger amounts of learning. Okay, so that's the introduction to the program from myself. I'll hand back to Raana at that point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. It was very informative, and I believe the students must have understood what Royal Holloway has to offer to them. In addition to BBA Royal Holloway, University of London does provide multiple options to students. So I would like Mr. Saad Wasim to explain a little about these qualifications and give us an insight into these qualifications.
First of all, thank you, Raana and Nassir, for organizing this session. It's a pleasure to be part of this wonderful panel. With reference to University of London, I would like to start with a short introduction for our viewers. If we talk about transnational education, University of London is considered to be one of the oldest university to offer transnational education in the world. And if you look at Pakistan, we have been operating for almost 30 years in Pakistan, and we're considered as the pioneers of transnational education in Pakistan. And I feel because of our operations in Pakistan and being the oldest university to operate TNE, we have a lot of credibility, and the brand value of University of London is somehow very much known in Pakistan. If you talk about the programs, we're very much proud to have one of our alumni to be part of this panel as well, and she's done the law degree. So I'll start with our LLB honors degree. It's one of the oldest programs that we offer, and I feel that if you look at Pakistan, our largest program in Pakistan is the LLB honors degree. And I feel that a lot of our students have done this program, and we have given them the opportunity to probably go for the bar or the LLM after this degree, and then they have come back and they've started to practice as well. We've also seen some of our alumni who have somehow gone straight away into practice. That is one of the most popular programs that we have in Pakistan. If you look at the social sciences programs, we also have programs run which we call the EMFSSS programs. And those are programs which get the academic direction from London School of Economics. And we have programs towards economics. We've got programs towards international relations, accounting and finance. These are some of the programs that we also have, and we've been offering them for a number of years. Then the third program, of course, which Paul has already talked about, is our business administration program. And we are very proudly, I would like to say, that we recently revamped the whole program. And I feel that the program has become much more attractive. And I believe this forum would be focusing more on the business administration program, especially with reference to Beaconhouse, Faisalabad, the institution that you have, which has been recently recognized for the business administration program. So as Paul has talked about the salient features of the program, I would definitely like to highlight that this program, of course, gets the academic direction from Royal Holloway, University of London, and is one of the key programs which has adopted a strategy where it is just not based on a written examination at the end of the year, which is quite common for our other programs like the laws program and the EMFSS programs. So there is definitely some room to work towards coursework. And I think that makes the program more attractive because not every student is wanting to do an unseen exam after the whole year. So that gives the program much more, I would say, I feel that the students would want to look into that aspect of the program as well. Then the other point that Paul has somehow talked about, which I feel is very much important in this current time, because of COVID-19, as you know, a lot of students wanted to go abroad, but as the situation is not very much clear, so a lot of students have postponed. And I feel that the business administration program is definitely a solution to that problem. So as Paul has identified, students can start this program in Pakistan, and those students who are aspiring to go abroad, they have an opportunity to do the first year of the program in Pakistan. And if they do well in the program, there are likely chances they can transfer into the second year of the program into the internal Royal Holloway degree. So that is also an option available. Of course, the fee structure would change, but that is an option available for students who wanted to go this year, but due to the COVID-19 circumstances, they were not able to go ahead. Other than that, what I would like to really talk about here is some of the plus points of doing a University of London degree in Pakistan. Well, for people who do not know the overall UK system, higher education system, I would like to brief them that all UK undergraduate degrees are 3 years in time duration compared to a 4-year degree which is in Pakistan. And the primary reason for that is that somebody who's coming from the A-level route has already done 13 years of education. And that's the reason why all UK-based universities have a 3-year undergraduate program to make it 16 years of education. Whereas if you look at Pakistan or India, we have an FSE-based system, which is of 12 years of education. And that is the reason why we have 4 years of undergraduate studies in the country. So as these programs are being offered by University of London, all our undergraduate programs are 3 years in time duration, be it the law program, be it the Royal Holloway program, or be it the EMFSSS programs. Other than that, of course, which is probably considered to be the most attractive part of our degree, is the cost of the program. I feel that most of the students that are doing our degrees in Pakistan, their ultimate goal is to go for a master's abroad. I believe Alina would be talking about this in depth as well, but she also went for a master's after her LLB. And I feel that most of the students would do this degree, and if they perform well, there are likely chances that they can get into any top UK university or American university or Australian university with a University of London degree. And I feel that people would like to somehow, even parents or students want to save by doing the first degree, an international degree in Pakistan, saving 1 year of their time as well, and eventually going for a master's. And once they come back, they have endorsement from 2 universities. One is, of course, University of London, and they also have an endorsement from the university where they've done their master's from. So the cost difference is quite a lot. So if you're looking into going into the UK, into an internal college. As most of the audience would know, I think the cost for a decent university is roughly around £20,000 per year. And then if you add the living cost to it, it makes it almost around £30,000 per year. So for a 3-year program, it costs almost around £90,000 to do an undergraduate degree in the UK. Whereas if you look into our degrees, I feel the cost of doing our programs is almost 1/10 of the cost of going abroad. So there's a huge difference, and I feel that students can definitely take full use of it. The quality of the program is exactly the same. You're studying the same content. Most of our programs are built in such a way that we try to replicate the overall program that is being offered internally as well. And that was the concept for most of our programs as well. When Royal Holloway was also revamping the program, I feel Paul also considered the local program and when I say the local program, I mean the internal program and the distance learning program, and we try to match it. So the quality of the program is exactly the same, but of course the cost is reduced because you are not being taught directly from the faculty of these universities. These institutions somehow are supporting us through this platform where local teachers are somehow teaching the program. The university somehow works very closely with these faculty members of local institutions. We have a number of training sessions. We are doing a lot of capacity building for these teachers to bring them to the same level as the faculty in the United Kingdom as well. So this is just to give you a brief overview of our programs, how we operate, and just to give you the history of University of London as well.
Thank you so much, Saad. It was very informative, and I would now like Alina. Alina, if you could just add up to like your experience and what are the benefits of studying a UK law degree as opposed to the local law degree, and like overall, what's required? What are the requirements? How can you progress to your LLM or bar at law?
Thank you, Raana, for that. I think it's interesting, right? I think even after so many years, there is still this misconception or not that much understanding of whether, these international programs are recognized. And I remember back then when I was studying and I was actually trying to get an admission, I think I got a lot of I wouldn't say backlash, but a lot of concerns from the existing practicing lawyers, right? That, your degree won't be recognized. It's just a 3 years degree. You will not get that many opportunities. And, I'm glad that, despite all the hurdles at that point, I proved them wrong, because I think the 3 years program is ideal for anyone, even if, I think the local law degrees especially focus a lot on rote memorization rather than critical thinking. And I think one of the things that I have, learned from our program was that it wasn't something that we had to learn what the law was, right? We had to put our minds into why and how will the law be applied. And I think so there are two concerns, right? Whether the law is recognized. Secondly, whether, after you graduate, because you're not very well accustomed to the local laws, whether you're going to find it a challenge once you start practicing. And I think the University of London program gives you a wide range of subjects, and one of the advantages is that we are a common law jurisdiction, right? So when it comes to corporate or commercial laws, most of the laws are very similar, and most of our laws are very archaic, which basically go back to the British rule as well. So we didn't find that much of an issue. I'm not saying that you're very well accustomed or, like you know the law just like that, like a local law person would, but I don't think that it's important for you to know what the law is till the time you know how to apply the law. And secondly, I think in our second year, we also had Islamic law as a subject, right? So it wasn't that we were totally blindsided when it came to what the Sharia law is or what the local law essentially has. So I think that was the big advantage for us as well, that even though we had an international degree, we had and it wasn't just focused mostly on the Sharia law in Pakistan, but also other jurisdictions, right? So it's a wide ranging, it gives you a lot of exposure. And whether you want to practice in Pakistan or you want to practice anywhere in the country, it sort of gives you that, a broader approach. And I think once I graduated, I wanted to do, like I was planning to do my bar or my LLM, and I started applying. And it was great, like, you know, as compared to my peers who were probably doing the local law, it took them longer because it took them 5 years to graduate, and I graduated in 3 years. And then I applied everywhere, right? So I applied in US universities, in UK as well, and as well as Australia. And I never found that a hurdle, right? Because our degree was so well recognized. As compared to the local law degree students who had to go through an equivalency process and, you know, probably did not, or the degree wasn't valued as such. So I think it's been quite interesting, and I think my journey within my career also depicts that, you know, it isn't. So I think law essentially is considered as a very tough degree, and from a practicing point of view, and specifically when you're a female in Pakistan as well. But fortunately, I think the degree gave us so much exposure later on as well, that when I actually started applying for jobs after I graduated, and then when I came into a position where you know, I could hire people as well. And the first thing that I actually see is whether I'm not saying that, you know, there's a pick and choose of, you know, I'm not going to hire a local law, a degree, student, but it's just in the sense that, you know, when I've seen, hire people, you see the difference, right? Where a University of London student could pick up things, he could be like the critical thinking, how they apply the law, how they probably sort of argue that, you know, this is probably not how the law should be. There's a vast difference in that. And I believe that's something. So whether it's been litigation or whether it's in-house, whether it's actually working, I've worked in the US and in Washington, D.C. as well. And I feel like, this degree, helped me beyond, any other degree could have. And, as everybody mentioned, that it's so cost effective, right? So it's not even, it's a burden on your parents, or, if you really want to, experience that sort of lifestyle, of going abroad, then, you can do your first and second year here, or, if your scores are good, you can take a transfer in your third year. So I think that a lot of people might actually want, and I think Beaconhouse has very big campuses. I think a lot of people miss out on the campus life. But the fact of the matter is, if you go to London School of Economics and everywhere else as well, they don't also have campuses, right? So even in London, there are a lot of schools that don't have that sort of campus life as well. So I'm open to, questions. If anyone has questions related to my journey, I'd be happy to, share my experience.
Great. Thank you so much, Alina. In fact, you are a true inspiration for University of London law graduates. So now moving with our discussion, as we all know that online learning has now much more acceptability across the globe, and that what has been made clear through this pandemic is the importance of disseminating knowledge across borders, countries, societies. So as Mr. Nassir Kasuri stated earlier about transnational higher education and the benefit that it is providing to the students now under the pandemic. So I would just like Mr. Nassir Kasuri to add a little on that, and then Paul to just add more on the same thing, because we would like students to know what if they cannot travel abroad for any reason, how they can get the benefit from these transnational higher education opportunities in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So Mr. Nassir, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Raana. I mean, thank you for that question. I mean, as I think, as I mentioned, in my opening sort of statement, that it is at this time it's become an even more valuable opportunity than it was in the past. It not only has, in any case, major cost benefits, while giving you the opportunity to get the same quality of education. At this time, there are anyway many restrictions in place. Countries are not giving visas their quarantine requirements, and generally, people are uncomfortable having too many visitors coming in. We recently had I believe Donald Trump has in fact taken back this decision in the US where international students would have to do their distance learning classes overseas, and then they allowed them to come back in. So there's a lot of sort of uncertainty and unrest vis-a-vis how international travelers and students should be dealt with in the age of Corona. And there's also no certainty in terms of when we're going to return to any sort of semblance of normality. People feel that once the vaccines are out, that'll happen, but then we're not sure when the vaccines are going to be out necessarily. So I think, as Saad said, even for students who do ultimately want to go abroad, it at least for now represents a fantastic opportunity to not lose time, not lose a year of education where they can come in and they can do at least 1 year over here. And I'm sure if they perform reasonably well, Royal Holloway and UOL has provided an adequate pathway for whatever program they've selected to do to continue that overseas. So I think right now it's a really, really unique opportunity. And it really, I think the launch of this program just happens to coincide with a really unusual time in the world where, traveling overseas has anyway become really difficult. And like Saad said, you get the same quality of education, and not only do you get the same quality of education. I was really enthused to learn that from Mr. Dr. Dudley, that the actual format of the program has been changed to be more coursework based and less examination based, and also to emphasize on 21st century skills. So sometimes one of the differences between studying in Pakistan and studying overseas is that there's this perception that in Pakistan learning is more sort of rote memorization based and less practical. But now that these programs have been adapted to focus on 21st century skill development, whether it's being done locally in the UK or internationally in Pakistan, I think students have the opportunity to actually not lose out on anything, save some money, ride over this Corona period, and then decide whether they want to continue with the rest of their education in Pakistan or simply travel abroad. So it's as far as I can tell, it's a win-win situation right now, really. So yeah, that's what my perspective on that is.
So, all right, thank you. Dr. Paul, if you could add some more to it.
Sure. I'm going to take a slightly broader perspective beyond the program, although it does encompass the program. Raana, you mentioned dissemination. I don't think it's just about dissemination. One of the things that's really key with the University of London and Royal Holloway is how we broaden understanding, taking on different perspectives, different parts, those perspectives drawn from different parts of the world, including Pakistan. So we learn, it's not just knowledge disseminating from the UK overseas, it's about understanding knowledge where it's locally provided, locally created or co-created. And that's an important issue, certainly for us at Royal Holloway, in terms of expanding our curriculum, looking at inclusivity and looking at the ideas that we're drawing on. Are we taking account of ideas from outside of, say, Western perspectives? And that is one of the key features of the Royal Holloway programme, is that we take a critical management studies point of view on business administration. So it's about understanding a range of different perspectives from different cultures and different countries, and how they can help inform what's happening in organizations and the way that management practices have developed and are evolving. So that's an important feature. certainly of Royal Holloway's approach, and I'd say across the University of London, and it's becoming a big issue across UK universities at the moment. And indeed, I was watching a documentary in the UK about Cleopatra at last weekend, and what struck me about the documentary was that how Cleopatra herself had been stereotyped in the films from Hollywood, and some research from UCL, from University College London, showed that they identified some manuscripts going back to the 1600s, around from Egypt, that showed a completely different point of view on Cleopatra, her education, which extremely educated lady, from these manuscripts that were found. So we do actively seek to look at how we challenge our own assumptions, and that's part of the BBA program. Certainly, it's about challenging our assumptions, challenging knowledge, and the management practices that underpin that knowledge. So that's certainly a key feature. It's certainly not just about dissemination, and indeed, from my point of view, one of the things I love about my travels, which obviously I haven't been doing for the last 4 to 5 months, which I'm missing, are the people that I meet, including students, including Beaconhouse. So I've met everyone on this call, from the staff side of this. It's the exchange of ideas, the different points of view. And that's the benefit to me of transnational education, that open-mindedness. So everyone, with pretty much without exception that I meet globally in transnational education, is open-minded. And I think that's part of academia. Being an academic, if you like, is being open-minded. And those traits of being open-minded are also extremely good traits in business itself, to be open-minded to different ideas and perspectives. So from my point of view, transnational education is going through an exciting state of development at the moment, and hopefully as that evolves, that crossover between ideas from different parts of the world will really become a key feature of how we develop our curriculums moving forward. That to me is the real benefit of transnational education. It can help us understand issues in different ways, and hopefully come up with solutions to problems which work better than the solutions we have at the moment. So I could carry on for hours about this subject, but I'll hold it at that point. But I'm extremely positive and passionate about transnational education, because I see the benefits not just in terms of people having access to education. I see it at a much broader level of how we develop knowledge and understanding using different perspectives from different parts of the world. So I'll hand back at that point.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Saad, I just realized that we have touched upon the LLB, EMFSS, and BBA Royal Holloway qualifications, but there are students who are interested in knowing more about the qualifications in computer sciences. So if you can touch upon that as well.
Okay, sure. So I think the program I missed was the computer science program. The program also is a new program, and I believe Paul has also seen the program, and that is one of our programs that we have somehow partnered with Coursera, and we're very proud of that program. And the program is built in such a way which has much more support online compared to the other programs that have been in existence for a number of years. So if you look at the EMFSS program, which gets the academic direction from LSE, or if you look at the laws program, I think most of these programs have support, but the online support when it comes to videos and all of that isn't there in the same way as our new programs. So if you look at the Royal Holloway program, and if you look at the computer science program, the programs are built in such a way which will have much more online support. And if you look at the computer science program, it's a 3-year program, and it gets the academic direction from Goldsmith University of London. And there is a lot of support that is being provided to students through the online platform. So there would be a number of lectures which will be given through the online system. Of course, these would be pre-recorded lectures, and there will be definitely some other kind of support that we also provide students. But I think the cost is also quite similar to our other programs. It would be a cost efficient program. And again, the good thing about the program is that students would be able to transfer again with that program. So they could do at least 1 year in Pakistan and then transfer in the second year or in the last year, and they would be able to do an internal Goldsmith computer science degree.
Thank you, Saad.
That's about the computer science.
Thank you so much. We have few questions from the viewers. Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so we have certain questions from the viewers at the moment, and I just want to touch upon a few of them. We have already discussed employability. So there is a question about employability options for UOL graduates. I think Alina or Saad, I mean, you are the...
Yeah.
I could start, and then Alina could somehow add on to her own experience with it.
Sure.
I can definitely say this. When Alina was graduating, I feel that at that time, the presence of University of London wasn't as great as it is today. So I'm sure the initial part of getting employed would have been a struggle. But before she says something about this, I would like to mention that the University of London for the last 6 years have actually taken employability very much seriously. And if you look at the number of programs we talked about, so if you look at the laws program, I feel that it has probably I would say the strongest brand value in Pakistan, and we've tried our best to capitalize on that. And we've done a number of employers event in Lahore, Karachi, and Islamabad, which were focused towards having some of the top law firms, some multinationals, some NGOs who came in, and we somehow gave an opportunity to our students to interact on a one-on-one basis with these employers. And the concept was to somehow make employers understand the value of this program, and for them to judge the skill sets that students learn with this program, and for students to somehow create a strong network with these employers. And I feel that all 3 events were taken really well by employers, and students took full use of that. And I was able to get a number of emails of appreciation from students where they were given an opportunity to work on a full-time basis based on this employment event. If you look at the other programs for social sciences, we've done similar events in Lahore and Islamabad, where we had organizations like Pepsi, Nestle, and they also came in and talked about their company. And then we gave students the access to directly interact with these top employers. Some employers shortlisted at that event, took interviews, some took CVs back, and then invited students for interviews. We've also somehow started to work very closely with our alumni. We've set up alumni forums in Lahore, Karachi, and Islamabad, and we've tried to somehow engage some of our top alumni to somehow support us when it comes to employability, internships, and we've also taken their feedback on how we could improve the program that we offer. So things that can be added onto the academic program to make it more attractive and more relevant. Other than that, we've also somehow started with a placement program of University of London, where the concept is that students going in the last year of the program, in the summers of their second year, we somehow advertise these programs, these internship programs. Students apply with a cover letter and a CV. We do the shortlisting alongside the employer, and successful candidates work for at least 3 to 4 weeks with a certain employer. And the university somehow has a bursary in place. They somehow pay £300, not in cash, but they reduce the final year fee by £300 for those students which are successful in this internship program. This is like an official internship program, so it is endorsed on the transcript of these students. And eventually, when they apply to different organizations, the employer would know that a certain person has worked in a certain organization, and the feedback of the employer is very much over there as well. But the good part about this is that the employer is also able to shortlist and somehow have a talent pool in place for their hiring for next year. So most of the students who do well with this internship program at law firms or multinationals have an edge when they're applying for a full-time option at that certain organization. Other than that, I feel that the university is somehow trying its best to promote the program, to somehow reduce the misconceptions about the program, because for some of the programs, at times students had to explain to an employer what they were studying, how it was being taught. So I think we've tried to somehow give a better picture of the program, and that's helped with employability in at least the last 4 to 5 years. And I think now I like to pass to Lena to talk about her experience and how she thought with reference to employability.
Thank you, Saad. That was quite insightful, and I'm glad now steps are being taken, because I think back then we did not have that much student support. So I think when it comes to employability, I don't think I've ever actually faced, even back then when we did not have that much institutional support, I would say. There was never an issue of our degree not being recognized, or we not being hired just because we had done an international program. I think I've been at least fortunate that way. And I think one of the as I previously also said, that I've had the opportunity to work in a top legal 500 law firm, and also as soon as I graduated, I started doing internship for a very well-known corporate law firm as well. And it's been a journey, right? So for me, it's never been an issue that there's this one particular field where I was more sort of welcomed rather than the other one. So I've done litigation. I am an in-house lawyer. I have taught as well. I've taught LLB external students. I have worked in a think tank, policy think tank, and I've also advised the government on international law issues, right? So I think when it comes to employability or opportunities, there are a wide range of opportunities there. There might be this misconception initially, and I think I think for legal recently, because there have been like a Supreme Court case stating that the 3-year law degree is not recognized, but that was not for international. I would like to reiterate that it was not for international programs. It was just for local laws, local law degrees. That 3 years local law degrees will not be recognized. So again, I think it's been a journey. And at the age of 29, I ended up being the head of legal of one of the biggest startups in the region. So I can't complain.
Wow, great to hear that, Alina. Thank you so much. Okay, we have another question from a viewer, that can I transfer to Royal Holloway UK in my 2nd year or 3rd year? Or if so, what are the requirements? So, though we have already touched upon this thing, but if you can specifically answer the question. Dr. Paul,
Yes.
Who would be the right person, I believe?
For final year entry, the average is 60%. So you need to achieve 60% across year 1 and 2, and satisfactory references, personal statement, and ultimate sign-off by myself. So that's the entry requirement for final year. The 2nd year, the average is actually higher, because we are particularly interested in 2nd year that students it's still at an early stage of their career, of their academic career. So the average is higher. It's 70%. Again, subject to satisfactory references, personal statements, and sign off by myself. What I would say, one of the big things that's really important to me, I'm passionate about the student experience. That goes to the heart of everything that I do. Certainly in terms of developing the program, certainly in terms of when I visit, and Pakistan is the country that I visit the most. So I tend to visit Pakistan 2 to 3 times a year. So the student experience is key. And with the transfer, what we've been doing is putting in place support mechanisms, because I sometimes see, well, no, I don't want to frame that negatively. We want to make sure that when you arrive on campus in the UK, that you're fully supported. that you're not just parachuting in and becoming another student amongst many students. That has been my experience of one other university more than a decade ago, which I was involved in. And I was very keen to ensure that we have the support mechanisms in place so that when students do transfer, that you are fully supported with a personal tutor, a specialist personal tutor that understands your specific requirements from coming from Beaconhouse. That is really important, and with my direct input as well. So I would be a key contact as well. So ensuring that you've got full support is of my utmost concern, because ultimately, you being comfortable with your studies and performing to the best of your abilities and enjoying that time on campus is what we're here for. That is the purpose of transnational education. It's student focused. It's what we believe in at Royal Holloway. I know that's what Beaconhouse is central to. There's a very good reason, other than just it being morally correct, to be very focused on the customer or the student. It also makes very good business sense. A happy customer or a happy student that comes to Royal Holloway comes back to Pakistan and hopefully says very positive things about Royal Holloway. So it is also just a very practical thing that word of mouth, whether it be electronically through social media or whether it be through seminars that students give when they come back after they've transferred to the UK, is extremely important, and that's something I'm very focused on. So that there's certainly transferability there. We are a relatively small campus, so it's big actually. The campus itself's big, but our school, the School of Business and Management, we recruit about 600 students a year into the school. Now we have a very, very low dropout rate, extremely low. So the students and this is something that I've discussed many times with our head of school and with our vice principal, the transferability with students transferring in, they're not those students, or you potentially as a student, you're not making up numbers because students have dropped out. We're adding to the student body in year 2 and year 3. So we've made sure that transferability is right, and that it's right for the students, treating the student as an individual when they come over. We would be, obviously if we had 1,000 students wanting to transfer, that might be an issue. So again, that's why we have this control where we have discussions with Beaconhouse and with all of our institutions that we work with, to ensure that it's right for the student and it's right for everyone. So the conditions, as I've stated, for year 3, it's 60% average across year 1 and 2 of the programme, subject to satisfactory references, personal statement and sign off by myself. Year 2, slightly higher average, 70% for year 1. And again, same personal statements, references required. Sorry for that rather elongated response to the question, but I think it is important to put it in the context of the student is central here. So it's not just about, okay, you can transfer. It would be a terrible outcome for any student to come to the UK and be unhappy. It's important that the students are happy when they transfer.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Before we move to our next segment of a student of subject to specialist panel, I would like to ask one last question from Saad. Saad, there is a question about scholarships. So they're asking about University of London, does it provide any scholarship to any student, or they have this kind of arrangement? So if you can just briefly touch upon this thing.
Well, I would like to somehow bring their notice again to the discussions we've had earlier. So as I talked about people wanting to go and do an undergraduate degree in the UK, I said the rough cost would be something around £90,000 for a 3-year program. Whereas if somebody is doing a Royal Holloway program with reference to the BBA program. I think they're being charged something around £7,000, £7,500 for 3 years. So, of course, there's definitely already a discounted price that we offer. If you talk about our programs in Pakistan, I feel that our cost is somehow built in such a way which is quite affordable to a lot of students, and we somehow have that cost based on that reason. If students are looking for scholarships in our programs in the first year, we don't offer any scholarship in that regards, but there are some academic scholarships for some of our programs if you do well in the first year. So for laws, we've had this scholarship where students who would do really well in the program could actually somehow get a scholarship and go into an internal college of University of London to complete their second and third year. So I do
Okay.
remember a student which was able to go into SOAS with that. There has been a student who has been able to go into Queen Mary and complete the second and third year. And it's a fully funded scholarship by the university, which covers the tuition fee and the cost of living. We also had for some of our programs an academic scholarship, which was for some of the programs where students would be able to somehow get a scholarship to cover the second year of the program. So the internal cost, I mean, with reference to the program in Pakistan, you would be able to somehow get a scholarship which would cover the second year of the fee that you would somehow pay. Other than that, if you're looking at scholarships at master's level, I've seen that people who have done programs with reference to the EMFSS programs, if they apply to the LSE, there are, I would say, 2 to 3 dedicated scholarships for master's positions. So if somebody has done extremely well, has got a first class honors, we've seen students from Pakistan get 100% scholarship, and they are able to somehow get a waiver for that, and they've been able to do a degree at the LSE where the tuition fee is covered as well, and the cost of living is somehow also covered by the university. So these are some of the scholarships. But other than that, what I would like to mention at this forum, there is definitely a misconception about UK universities. I feel that most of the UK universities do offer scholarships, and but the perception is there that they're not as generous as American universities. Of course, they're not as generous because most of the universities are somehow funded by the government. It's not as if the alumni which are based in the US would somehow fund these universities. So I think that if students would apply to a UK university, and if they apply to the scholarships as well, there is definitely a good chance for them to get a partial scholarship as well. And if
All
you're
right.
looking at somehow the business administration program of Royal Holloway, anyone who would be an alumni would be able to get a bursary, which is almost around 20%, I feel, to apply for the Royal Holloway program for a master's program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Before I thank our panelists, I would also want to tell viewers that we shall be taking our subject specialist on board right after this session. So please stay with us. Thank you, Dr. Paul, Mr. Nassir Kasuri, Mr. Saad Wasim, Ms. Alina. Thank you so much for being with us, for taking time out of your schedule to enlighten our students about the qualifications. It was a pleasure having you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raana, for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
थी ना, वो प्रिंट मैंने आपको कहा था वो दे।
Dear viewers, welcome back to the second session of our webinar on Transnational Higher Education Pathways and Opportunities. I'm your host, Raana Sarmad, Country Head, Beaconhouse International Colleges. And this section is designed to address subject-specific questions of our students and viewers. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have from our subject specialists. In our subject specialist panel, we have Dr. Sajid Manzoor. Dr. Sajid Manzoor is a PhD in economics, and he is in teaching profession for the last 3 decades. He published papers on demand for financial assets in Pakistan and is author of various reports for the World Bank. His work also includes construction of commutable general equilibrium model for Pakistan. He's working as an associate professor in public sector institution and also teaching on to the University of London international programs. Then we have Dr. Naeem Mustafa. Dr. Naeem Mustafa is the Deputy Chief Scientist at Atomic Energy Commission of Pakistan. He has a PhD in mathematics and he is a certified financial analyst. He has served as a visiting professor in almost all local universities. He is also the approved teacher of University of London. We have with us Mr. Nadeem Shaukat. Mr. Nadeem Shaukat holds the degree of MPhil in Development Studies from IDS at University of Sussex. He has worked with various government entities and national and international development organizations, including United Nations, International Development Banks, development partners, etc. He is currently working as the Senior Associate Strategic Reforms and Implementation at Prime Minister's Office and is also teaching onto the University of London courses. We have with us Dr. Rahim Awan. Dr. Rahim Awan is the Secretary, Law and Justice Commission of Pakistan. He has a PhD in law. He completed his LLM in International Commercial Law from University of Bedfordshire, UK. He has been teaching on to University of London programs for the past 5 years and has been a visiting teacher to teach research and thesis writing to LLM and law and action to LLB students at University of Bedfordshire, UK. We have Dr. Raja Kesar with us. Dr. Raja Kesar is a PhD in international relations. He has been the research scholar at Columbia University in 2018 and a research associate at University of Nottingham in 2017. Dr. Kesar is assistant professor at Quaid-e-Azam University, and he has also been teaching onto the University of London international programs for the past 10 years. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, it's pleasure having you all here with us. You have been teaching on to University of London programs for quite some time, and we wanted our students to get an insight into the qualifications, the content of the qualification, and how it's been taught in Pakistan. So, Dr. Sajid, if you can give us a brief about like the courses of economics in University of London programs.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Dr. Sajid Manzoor. I completed my PhD from Quaid University. I started teaching in this system around 2001. Since then, I have been teaching Introduction to Economics. This is first year course. Then Microeconomics, it is the second year course. And the Econometrics, it is the third year course. In very brief, very short, I have been teaching even in various institutes, even in Pakistan, in Quaid University, Allama Iqbal Open University, International Islamic University, even Karachi University. The course contents which has been designed by the University of London, they are parallel to our previous master's level. Now we almost have eliminated that master's level. Now we are coming up with that BS program. But before this, whatever master's level program we were running, the course contents are almost at that par. Many times we have introduced new teachers from this current institutes, but they were not able to teach or cope up with the respective contents. So course contents are very rigor. The most important thing about this is internationally recognized. Even if you are studying in Pakistan, but if you are going around the globe, you don't have to mention where from you have completed your degree. And many of my students, since I have been teaching in this program since 2001, so many of my students who are abroad, they settled over there. And from there, then they keep on interacting with me about their coming courses, about the course contents, etc., wherever they feel the difficulty. Especially when we talk about the econometrics, it is something a combination of 3 subjects: math, economics, and statistics. Usually, it is the most difficult course in this degree, especially if somebody is doing BSc Pure Economics, BSc Economics and Finance. So this course of econometrics is compulsory for all of them. So usually whenever any of my student who comes to the first year, when they keep in touch with me, I usually recommend them that if you are going to plan to have a degree in economics or economics and finance, you must take the course of the econometrics, because it is something like the applied economics.
All right.
Many of the mathematical equations we use in mathematical subject, but how those equations have been developed, it is not written in mathematics. You have a lot of equations in the subject of mathematics. Where from they are coming, that we learn through the subject of the econometrics. Thank you. If you have any question further beyond this, I'm over here, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saad. We'll move on to Dr. Naeem. Dr. Naeem, a very like, since you have been teaching onto these programs for good about again more than 2 decades. So how the
More than
EMFSS
20 years.
degrees? Yeah. So how the EMFSS degrees facilitate the qualification of CFA or ACCA, the financial qualifications like BSc Accounting and Finance? How does it facilitate?
Yeah. That I will explain. As Dr. Sajid already explained about the course contents are very well designed. One thing I want to highlight here, that my own daughter has passed A level, and like A level students are studied always conceptually. So when they go in local university, they cannot cope up. Like my daughter took admission in BBA in Fast University, but she could not continue, and now she is shifted to this degree. Coming back to your answer, like for ACCA, that this degree, if you are doing BSc Accounting and Finance and taking accounting courses optional all in throughout the degree, then ACCA body exempts basically 9 courses of ACCA based on this degree. And moreover, like only you need to give professional examinations of ACCA, and then you qualify ACCA. Even I have seen those professional courses, contents of the professional courses of ACCA, and as I teach here finance courses in second year and third year of BSc degree, so I have seen that even those courses are very easy for students of this, graduates of this degree, to pass those courses, because those are also covered here. So but ACCA body only gives the foundation level 9 courses exemptions, and professional they don't they don't give exemptions of those courses. Otherwise those courses also become easier for the accounting and finance degree students. Similarly for CFA, if anyone wants to do CFA, so like the students doing banking and finance, taking here courses banking and finance in first year, then corporate finance in second year, and then quantitative finance in third year. So if you have taken all finance courses in first year to third year, so then CFA becomes very easy, because all CFA is all about this finance, like which is covered here. Financial reporting is also covered here in this degree, and that is also a major part of the CFA degree. So I think that CFA and ACCA or any other degree throughout the world becomes very easy for the students who are graduating like from London University. and plus the course design is very well. Even HEC, you know, it is the degree is recognized by HEC, and you
Thank you
know,
so much.
like from our some past. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Naeem. And now we'll Dr. Raja Kesar, if you can give an insight into the international relations degree of University of London. Sorry, we can't hear you.
Am I audible, please? I think
Yes.
my mic is muted. Am I audible, Ma'am Raana?
Yes, you are.
All right. Well, I'm associated with this UL setup for past 1 decade, as you said in my introduction, and I have been teaching this international relations and politics courses, and I have taught almost all of the courses which are offered in this program. And now I have a large network of my students who are spread across the globe and doing wonderful efforts, and they happen to be mid-career professionals by now, and you know, all of them, they do hold very good positions everywhere in Pakistan and outside Pakistan as well. This degree, it happens to be a wonderful degree program because of its outreach, because of its unique syllabus, and because of its global dynamics. The reason being, since you know, I did my PhD from Pakistan, and I have happened to have traveled to almost 18 countries of the world in different research pursuits and different professional fellowships. What I always felt regarding myself, the only shortcoming which I always had to come across was an international certification for my degree. Because when you happen to earn a degree from Pakistan setup, I mean, I don't mean to discredit our own indigenous setups, but you know, across the world, when you are being put into a competitive matrix and you are being judged comparatively, so there you are you know, somehow at a disadvantageous position. And since I have suffered it personally, so that is why I always recommend those students, you know, who can get into this program, because while sitting in Pakistan, you can earn a degree from Royal Holloway, from University of London, and from all, you know, London School of Economics. So this is an excellent opportunity. Plus, the cost of this degree program, it's very manageable, and it's something, you know, which is affordable. Because as you're one of participants, I was listening, he was telling, you know, the cost of degree program, when you go to UK, it's around 90,000 pounds. The same degree you can earn while sitting in Pakistan with your family, not being homesick, and into a very reasonable investment. So apart from that, I've seen my students doing marvelously well with the Planning Commission of Pakistan, with different research institutes. One of my students right now is working in The Hague. One of my students right now is working with the United Nations mission in New York. So all of these things, they are symptomatic of the fact that this degree holds a very tremendous capital. And I would definitely encourage all of those students who urge to join this degree program, that it will be a wonderful opportunity, because your exposure to the very meticulously developed syllabus, and the constant feedback mechanism, and all of these things which are so well in place. So it would be a worthwhile experience, and at the same time, you will not have to face that disadvantage of studying or having a local degree from Pakistan, and then going abroad and facing, you know, a lot of struggle in the job market. So I mean, my experience by now with the UL setups, I have taught almost with all of the colleges which are offering this degree in Islamabad. It's beyond remarkable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kesar. That's that's very informative, in fact, for the students. Now, Dr. Rahim, if you can give us a little about University of London degrees, how reflective they are of the current practices in Pakistan, since you are a practicing lawyer and you have been into teaching onto these programs. So I just wanted to ask you this.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wa salatu wassalamu ala khatmun nabiyyin. I hope everybody can listen me.
Yes.
My voice is clear. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ma'am Raana, and thank you rest of the participants for their useful insight on the degree programs. Definitely, we're being a practicing lawyer. Used to be a practicing lawyer, and now since I'm working as Secretary Law and Justice Commission of Pakistan, I will focus myself on the law degree program. Indeed, the law degree program, I believe, is well designed, which can be helpful for the students who intend to practice in Pakistan, or they want to practice outside Pakistan in the because it offers the constitutional law, it offers the Islamic law, contract, and by and large, the subject to contract, the constitution, that is as useful in Pakistan as useful in the UK. Similarly, in the Islamic law, since now UK is also moving towards the Islamic finance and the Islamic banking and the Sharia law for the citizens living in the UK, the Muslim citizens. So that will be very helpful for those people. The most significant thing which I believe is about the law degree. If we do a law degree, I had passion to become a barrister because when I completed my LLB from University of Punjab, and I tried to approach the UK universities for the my bar vocational course, I learned that now I'm required to go through another track of the GDL. First, I need to go for 1 year GDL program, and after passing the GDL, then I will be enrolled for the BPTC to become a barrister. And I had to quit this idea and the passion of my life to become a barrister because that was 2 year degree program to just become a barrister and come back to Pakistan. But the student who gets degree from the University of London or the any other UK program, they are directly entitled to get themselves enrolled for the bar vocational program or the LPC, which is called the legal practitioner. So either if they want to become barrister or the solicitor, they can directly go after just doing 1 year program after their LLB. But if they do their program LLB program in Pakistan, then the track they have that gets that requires more than 2 years, and obviously more than 2 years expenses. Similarly, now if you see the LLB program in Pakistan, that is 5 years program. So if after intermediate, you enter in that program, you need 5 years to become a lawyer or become entitled to get practicing license in Pakistan LLB, and then you need further 2 years in the UK for the BPTC or the GDL or to go the LPC track. But if the student after A level enroll it himself for the LLB program of the University of London, definitely that will entitle them to complete their degree just in 3 years instead of the 5 years. And similarly, uh, if they want to practice in the UK, just to get themselves entitled in the 1 year. So the difference between the Pakistan track and the UK track is the 7 year and the 4 year. So it saves 3 years of a student, which is quite remarkable because if you save 3 years in your life, you get more chances to become a judge or even go to the a high level of the judiciary. Another thing, that scope in Pakistan we have, the Supreme Court of Pakistan every year enrolls, offer law clerkship to these to the fresh law graduates, and I didn't see any student as of today who passed LLB program for Pakistan from Pakistan and directly got law clerkship in the Supreme Court of Pakistan to assist judges of the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan. Normally, the student who passed the University of London's program, uh, they are shortlisted, they are interviewed, and they are selected. So this is another option or opportunity which a student who gets the LLB degree from the University of London, they will have in Pakistan. So in my point of view, that offers excellent way of working and opportunities for the student in the UK and also in Pakistan.
Great.
Yes, Ms. Raana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahim. This was quite insightful, and we would now move to Mr. Nadeem Shaukat. So, Mr. Nadeem Shaukat, you have been into the developmental sector, and your degree is the same from the same sector. So, I would want you to give us a little idea about like what is there in the international development degree of University of London. What kind of courses, what opportunities it has for students who are interested in doing, because it's a vast field. So we just wanted to know that what it has to offer to us too.
Right. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody can hear me.
Sure.
First of all, as all the other colleagues explained, what is the value of this degree in Pakistan and abroad? So that area has been covered because similarly, international development degree that the University of London offers hold the same value as other degrees, and similarly the students have been straight away hired at different levels and different positions. They have moved on to international universities on scholarships to continue with their masters and MPhils directly after this graduation. International development basically since I've been in the field for the last 15 years or more and teaching for a decade. The content that University of London offers is quite comprehensive, covered to any international university and a couple of universities that are offering this degree in Pakistan. So if a student is thinking that or trying to make a comparison in terms of the course content and the value, I think it really stands at the one of the topmost universities in the world that offers this content. The content, why I'm mentioning it, extremely important because that helps you straight away build your career path. Uh, International development actually is one of those areas that has been expanding quite rapidly in terms of not only research, but in terms of its employability as well. So, for example, in 2015, when the Millennium Development Goals ended, that started in 2000, there were, let's say, 7 goals and 48 targets. Then we are in the era of Sustainable Development Goals that are 17 goals, and they have more than 230 targets. This itself explains that in the last 15 to 20 years, how specifications in the international development are expanded to so many areas, and each target of each goal itself becomes a research area. It becomes an area where students can focus and can actually base their entire master's thesis and PhDs even to the extent. So in that context of employability, research, this is a very rapidly expanding area. So University of London, the way their history has progressed in sort of designing the courses and keeping a view of what is happening around the globe when you talk about international NGOs, when you talk about development finance banks, donors, it gathers practical examples, practical research, theories all together in this degree. I would also like to add that since other colleagues have mentioned about their subjects, international development degree actually offers a combination in all these subjects. After a bachelor's degree in international development, you could pick up a combination of law to work with it in international humanitarian law, environmental law. If you talk about economics, you have an entire subject of development economics that gives you a basis to progress into that area. You have communication for international development, local development. So in those terms, this degree is quite valuable, not only itself, but if you eventually want to elevate or be creative in your own way, that you think that your inclination, many of my students, for example, incline towards other areas, and they always tell me that how the basic development, international development degree helped them to sort of create their own way into new areas wherever they wanted to work. So that is an overall picture that we offer as a degree, and the university offers. It's very helpful, and I think it's a very solid platform for anyone who is trying to straight away jump into international waters of competition.
Great.
There-
Thank you so much, Mr. Nadeem Shaukat. It's very helpful, actually. I would like to thank you all for joining this session. This session was quite rapid as we are moving into another session. And we thank you all for coming in, giving the perspective on the degrees and like enlightening students about the program, its requirement, what kind of qualification and what kind of expertise these qualifications has to offer. Thank you so much, everyone. And now we would like to move on to the third and the final session of today's webinar.
afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the last segment of our webinar on transnational higher education, pathways and opportunities. I am Kiran Kanyu, and I'm the head of Pearson Qualifications at Beaconhouse International College. I shall be your moderator for this session, and accompanying me on this webinar are the seasoned educationists from Pakistan and our experts from Pearson UK. We have on our panel today Mr. Nassir Kasuri. He is the CEO Beaconhouse International College. Mr. Nassir Kasuri is also the executive director and one of the board members of Beaconhouse Group. He is the head of Beacon Energy Limited, a company focused on providing renewable energy resources. Mr. Kasuri is also a board member on Knowledge Platform, which envisions connecting artificial intelligence and machine learning to education in Pakistan. Welcome, Sir Nassir. We also have with us Ms. Raana Sarmad. She is the country head of Beaconhouse International Colleges, Pakistan. She is an educationist by profession and has been serving for more than a decade in managing, expanding, and monitoring the transnational higher education provisions in Pakistan. She's been affiliated with UK education system for the past 18 years, and she has been striving to bridge the gap between local students and the international community by bringing awareness of transnational higher education to Pakistan. Thank you for joining, ma'am. We have Mr. Waqar Shah. He is the country head for PSN Pakistan. He looks after the PSN's operations in Pakistan, which include the BTech qualification, the Edexcel academic qualifications, PSN test of English academic, school and higher education resources, both in print and digital media. He has around 17 years of experience in education sector dealing with UK education in Pakistan. We have with us from PSN UK, Mr. Phil Myers. He is the head of international product, BTech and apprenticeships. Phil is the team lead for developing BTech qualifications and support materials for international markets. He has over 20 years of experience in education, working across academic and vocational department and developments. And he has been working on notable projects such as curriculum development for BTech Level 3 teams for UK and international learners. We also have with us Mr. Joffrey. He's a subject lead for construction, art and design, and media production. Mr. Joffrey is an architect, an educator, and an author who has more than 20 years of experience in higher education development, teaching, management, leadership, and he's also been a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy. So before joining PSN, he was the head of undergrad architecture program at the University of Arts, London. He has lectured across the world on various topics, which range from business, computing, architecture, and education. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today for this event. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Welcome. So just before I introduce you guys further and I ask you to open the forum, I would like to just point out why we are having this particular webinar. So the purpose of this webinar has been to educate our students and parent body of the various transnational pathways which are available at higher education level. So it's very noteworthy here to mention that the higher education landscape has obviously been changing since the last decade, as focus has been shifted towards attainment of qualifications which actually truly have the capability of adding on to the practical and transferable skills of the student. And in my view, Pearson BTech qualifications have the ability to do just that. So with a growing service industry and a booming small-scale enterprise settings in Pakistan, in my opinion, Pearson BTech qualifications have set out to provide students with the accurate mix of blended learning, which provides just the right fit for current economic environments and industry demands. So Pearson BTech has obviously offered a new, more alternate, more hands-on form of learning in Pakistan by offering qualifications like International Diploma at Level 3 and the Higher National Diplomas at Level 5. So based on that, considering that there is a real need to incorporate international qualifications into education sector, Ms. Raana, how do you see the transnational higher education landscape changing in Pakistan?
I think, thank you, Karan. And I think the higher educational landscape of Pakistan is developing at a rapid speed. Like if you see, there are more qualifications now. People have started accepting qualifications. They have started giving value to the pathways, and we have started as a nation. We have started accepting that yes, not everybody can be taught with the same method. So there are more methods to learning and teaching. There are more acceptability to the fact that not everyone is to be taught through examinations or to be judged through examinations. So transnational higher education is providing us a broader landscape where you can connect qualifications, where you can connect different individuals with different ability to perform. So I strongly believe that Pakistan's transnational higher education landscape is actually on the right pathway, and we as an institution like Beaconhouse International Colleges, we are trying to bridge that gap more and more with by bringing in qualifications that are more relevant and that are more hands-on, and that can give our students a holistic experience. So this, what I believe at this stage where we are right now, we hope to have more qualifications, more programs coming in, and developing those programs according to the needs of our students and our graduates. So this is what I think about.
Thank you, Ms. Raana. So yes, thank you for this insight. And yes, I agree completely that the landscape of Pakistan is changing since for many years. And as you rightly mentioned, that Beacon House has always been open to providing their students with the right opportunities. So since Beacon House has always had this proactive, manner or proactive strategy in bringing out new opportunities for students and broader audience, I would like to ask Mr. Nassir Kasuri to share with us how this journey towards introducing transnational education began for Beacon House International College.
Sure. Thank you, Karen, for inviting me to speak. I've done a panel before this, so some of what I say might be repetitive, and for people who were tuned in from before, I apologize for that, but we may have a different set of viewers for this panel, so I may repeat some of the things I said before. Beacon House has now been in the education space for almost 45 years, and I feel that our commitment to excellence in student teaching and learning has really allowed us to become a multinational organization, which has now over 300,000 students in 8 countries. We've been very focused on our K-12 provision for the last 45 years, which is what I think has allowed us to really excel in that space. I think as an organization now, however, we have the bandwidth to be able to look at higher education as well, and to diversify our portfolio from our core offerings, and that's really what this is all about. Our students have for many years been doing exceptionally well in terms of international university placements. In the last admission cycle, we had 4,200 acceptances and almost $100 million in scholarships that were received by our students. As proud as we are of how well our students are doing with their international university acceptances, we feel that we need to provide more opportunities for students to receive these excellent educational opportunities at home in Pakistan. I think in the current COVID era, it's become even more relevant. In fact, it's become increasingly difficult for students to travel overseas. There's safety considerations, even if they want to travel. There visa restrictions in place in many countries, there quarantine restrictions. I think the BTech and HND progression really allows students to remain within Pakistan and gain access to an internationally accepted qualification while studying from the comfort of their own home in their own country and really staying safe. So this is really the thought process behind this program, and where the germination of this idea really came from. BTech and HND provide a fantastic opportunity for our students really to stay here and gain what is not only a fantastic qualification, but also a qualification which is very in line, I believe, as Ms. Raana said, with what many employers are now starting to expect from students in the workplace. Not only does it apply to different learning styles, but I think in many ways the way in which these programs are taught are more in tune with what is actually being required in the workplace now, which is increasingly less theoretical and more practical. And I'd like to sort of contextualize that a little bit. Essentially, Beaconhouse also in the last few years has been reflecting very hard on what is relevant in the 21st century. We're heading into a world where automation and AI is really creating a demand for knowledge-based workers, because things which can be done mechanically and in a repetitive way are now being automated. Functions which reply even on fairly sophisticated logic now can actually be done through AI. And it's expected, depending on what sort of research you read, that up to half the jobs, in fact some people say even more, that exist today will not exist 1 or 2 decades from today. So things are evolving very, very quickly. And this includes mid management to senior management jobs in financial analysis, medical diagnosis, legal services. So the fact that these BTech and HND programs have such a tremendous focus on research skills, creative thinking, group work, is, I think, integral to why they are so aligned with what's required right now. Not only are they aligned with the requirements of the job market, but they're also aligned with what Beaconhouse feels is really important in this day and age for someone to be relevant in the 21st century workplace. It's also one of the first large-scale collaborations that we have with Pearson. I think the two organizations share a lot of core values with each other. They have the commitment to the same type of education and learning. And it is, for me, other than just an opportunity to offer these programs, it's a really exciting opportunity for us at Beaconhouse to have the strategic alliance with Pearson, which we hope will grow and blossom into other areas in the future as well. So very exciting for us, and we hope that our students are as excited to be, have an opportunity to be a part of this as we are to really bring it to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nassir Kasuri. Yes, I agree that this is true, that the employer base and the industry is now looking for more capacity enabled workforce, and I think that's the reason that Pearson qualification has gained such a strong hold in Pakistan, and it's actually experiencing a very growing popularity among students and industry practitioners. So on that note, I would like to get some insight from Mr. Vikas Shah. If you could please give us a little overview of the qualifications that Pearson is offering at the moment for the Pakistani students.
Sure. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. And Assalamu alaikum, and thank you, Nassir Saab and Ms. Raana, for organizing this webinar and inviting us to speak about the Pearson qualifications. I'm pleased to share with you that Pearson is the world's leading learning body. It has a simple mission to help people make more of their lives through learning. It is the UK's largest awarding body regulated by Ofquo. And the story of Pearson becoming the UK's largest awarding body goes back to 1836, approximately 184 years ago. So before I go into the details of BTECs, let me give you some background of Pearson's operations in Pakistan. We have 5 departments working in Pakistan right now. Along with BTECs, we have Edexcel academic qualifications. These are state-of-the-art academic qualifications from grade 1 till A levels, which are opted by elite schools across Pakistan. These include higher primary and lower secondary, IGCSE, and A levels. Then we have K-12 resources. These are both digital and printed resources from kindergarten to A levels in all subjects. The most popular digital platform at this level is ActiveLearn, which has thousands of resources. During the current pandemic, we have provided free access to Active Learn to schools for a limited period so that they can continue teaching without any interruption. Then we have higher education resources, both digital and printed. In every university in Pakistan, our books are being used either as recommended textbooks or as reference books. And the last but not the least, we have Pearson Test of English Academic or PTE Academic, which is a computer-based English proficiency test valid for student visas and immigration purposes. It is the most unbiased, fast, fair, recognized, and convenient English proficiency test marked by the artificial intelligence. The entire cycle from registration to delivery of results can take place within 5 days, while other tests can take up to 2 months. So now coming back to BTECs. BTECs are higher quality hands-on qualification grounded in real world of work. BTECs are all about learning by doing, and that means BTEC students put what they learn into practice straight away. Throughout the course, they work on a series of assignments set in a real life scenario, developing the practical knowledge and skills employers and universities are looking for. The best element of BTEC qualifications is that they bring together the elements of theory and the elements of practice, and it prepares you really well for the world of work. And do you know that research shows that 74% of employers want new hires with practical knowledge and skills combined? And do you know that 90% of the BTEC students are employed full-time after graduating? I'm repeating that 90% of the BTEC students are employed full-time after graduating. And in 2017-18 and in 2018-19, 0% of the students received an unclassified grading across all BTEC 3 subjects, BTEC level 3 subjects. And by the way, unclassified means failed. So nobody has failed at level 3 in any of the qualifications in the past 2-3 years. And BTECs are flexible, as you can complete your qualification within 2 to 5 years, depending on your convenience. BTECs are taught in 58 countries around the world and are recognized in 70 countries. And did you know that 23% of the students who went to the universities in UK in 2018 had a BTEC? In other words, 1 student in every 4 students in universities are with the BTEC diploma. It is an effective path into the career you have always wanted. So choose BTEC because BTEC works. And BTECs are developed in consultation with employers, professional bodies, and higher education experts, which means when an employer is looking to recruit, they can trust that BTEC qualified candidate will demonstrate the right standards of knowledge, practical skills, and understanding required for the role. In Pakistan, currently BTECs are growing at a very rapid pace. Along with the leading education chains in Pakistan, now even we have universities offering BTEC qualifications such as Ziauddin University in Karachi, Lahore Garrison University, and the University of Faisalabad. BTEC qualifications are from level 1 to 7, but here in Pakistan, National Diploma, which is level 3, and Higher Nationals, which are at level 4 and 5, along with the level 7 extended diploma in strategic management and leadership are very popular. If we specifically talk about a national extended diploma in business, which is level 3, the size of the qualification is like 180 credits or 18 units the student has to study. This is the previous like QCF version which we have, and now soon we are going to introduce it. In fact, it has been introduced, and hopefully in the next couple of months, the centers will start recruiting in the new BTEC International, which is at level 3. And in that case, the size of the qualification is like 1,080 guided learning hours, and the students have to do 15 units. And this qualification is going to be delivered in 2 years' time. And the good thing is that IBCC, the regulator of education at A levels in Pakistan, recognizes and accepts our national extended diploma, equivalent to complete A levels or intermediate. So in order to get admission in the national extended diploma, you must have either IGCSE, O-levels, metric, or equivalent. And if you compare the cost of doing this national extended diploma with the A-level, the cost is very negligible. Currently, we are charging like £222 for the entire program of 2 years. So roughly it is equivalent to like 43,000 rupees in Pakistan. And of course, there are some additional charges such as school tuition fee, etc. that is not included in it. But if you talk about the registration fee which they have to pay to the person, that is £202. And at national extended level, we have many qualifications, like 60 plus in the QCF version, and 14 subjects are available in the new BTech International. But business, art and design, IT, hospitality management are top in demand in Pakistan. So once you have done your extended diploma, then either you can directly go into the job if you want to start your professional career. And if you don't want to start your professional career, and if you want to continue your studies, then you can go for the higher nationals. And if you don't want to do the higher nationals, what you can do is you can simply go to the IBCC and get the equivalence of this national extended diploma, like any other A-level students. And let me tell you that you will be getting the same equivalence which an A-level student is going to get, and you can use it anywhere where an A-level student can use his or her certificates or whatever the results which they receive. And even if you don't want to continue your studies in Pakistan, you can go abroad and you can continue your studies over there and complete over there. So the international top-ups which are currently available for the national extended diplomas are higher nationals, in fact. And the good news is that higher nationals are also available at Beaconhouse School right now. And the pathways which are available with this national extended diploma are accounting, marketing, human resources, management, law, administration, retail, logistics, and with the new qualifications, we have business, enterprise, and entrepreneurship. And the assessment for this national extended diploma is done through assignments and portfolios produced by the students and not through the exam-based assessment. And this qualification also, you know, this qualification covers like business environments, marketing, finance, international business, management, enterprise and entrepreneurship, human resources, accounting, and retail. So if you have done national extended diploma, so you can either do higher national diploma or you can get admission in BSc honors in business and management, BA honors in business and finance, BA honors in business and human resource management, and so on. The list is quite extensive and exhaustive. So if we talk about higher national diplomas, so the size of the qualification is like 240 credits and the students have to do 15 units. And the duration of this qualification is like 2 years. And the good news is that we have recognition for the higher national diplomas as well from the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, equivalent to first 2 years of bachelor degree in the humanities group. So in order to get admission, you must have either A-levels, intermediate, or equivalent. And if you compare the cost of doing higher national diploma in Pakistan and doing the same diploma in UK, there's a huge difference. So the cost is negligible if you are doing that higher national diploma in Pakistan. Currently, what we are charging for the entire program is £264 for the entire program, like which is roughly equivalent to 56,000 rupees. And of course, there are some additional charges such as school tuition fee and any additional charges which school has to charge. And there are 40 plus subjects available at the higher nationals, which we have, but business, art and design, computing, creative media production, hospitality management, construction and the built environment are among the most popular in Pakistan. So what will you do once you complete your higher national diploma? Either you will go straight into the job if you want to start your professional career, and if you
sorry, I think we seem to have lost Mr. Vakar, maybe there is some connection issue. So while we reconnect with Mr. Vakar, Mr. Phil, I would like to start from where Mr. Vakar left, and he mentioned that the BTech qualifications are actually designed in line with industry standards, and that a lot of industry personnel is involved with the designing of the BTech qualifications. So can you elaborate on that, and can you please give us an insight of how BTech qualification and apprenticeship actually conform to the industry standards?
Yes, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me to speak here. It's a privilege for me, so thank you very much indeed. I think, I mean, what I'd like to say is that we are, I think you will recognise, in a period of change in the world. There is, you know, we're moving towards a more digital world. There are elements of such change that we call it the fourth industrial revolution. And really every industry and every profession and every vocation is being affected by this. Therefore, it's really absolutely essential for us to be involving employers in what we do. And that's very key and central to what we do. And across our programs, we work closely in partnership with employers. They provide us with the technical expertise, whilst we support them in terms of the educational and pedagogical elements of our qualifications. So we have partnerships with Fiat Chrysler. We have partnerships with a group called the Peter Jones Foundation in the UK, with Amazon, etc., throughout all of our curriculum and qualifications. And we're working with those partners to really understand what they need to see from employers in the future. So I was taken by Mr. Nassir and Kasuri referring to those skills, those 21st century skills. And those we find are absolutely essential. I mean, BTech, if you take a BTech, you're taking a qualification for the future. You're taking a study which will really prepare you for the future. And the reason that it will do that is because we've looked at those skills. So both your technical skills, your business skills, for example, your creative media skills, or hospitality skills, depending on what program you're taking, but also those employability skills, those future thinking skills, and things like problem solving, leadership, communication, those wider skills, we embed those into the programs. So when you're doing your learning and you're being assessed, you're doing real work problems or solving real work problems, and therefore when you get into the workplace, you're that one step ahead from those who come from other routes, because you've actually had that experience, you've had that understanding, and you can feel confident in your skills. So don't let anybody ever say, you know, that BTECs are different, and you know there's anything about BTECs which aren't going to set you up for the future, because they're absolutely the best qualifications to set you up for a future in business. And that brings me on to my third point, really, which is the status of the qualifications. So BTECs are recognised by about 300 or 400 universities internationally. You know, we liaise, we talk to universities, we find out what they need to know, what they need in the qualifications, so that learners can progress into university. So we have those relationships. As I say, we have the employer relationships, and those are global employers. Those are employers who employ people across the world and really understand what the skills needs are across the world. And thirdly, we have recognition across a range of countries. We work in 70 countries internationally, and many of those countries officially recognise BTEC and recognise its worth. So all of those things really build for something which is really strong and powerful, I think, in terms of the qualification, and it can give you that assurance that, you know, BTEC is right, the right choice to make, and it's right for the future.
Thank you so much, Phil. And I think I agree with you. As being part of the team that delivers the BTEC qualifications at Beaconhouse International College, we have seen students excel wonderfully in these qualifications, and we really have seen them taking on the skills that are required for these particular industry, especially in Pakistan, since the context is very local. They are getting the theoretical background as well. Which actually brings me to you, Mr. Joffrey, and I would like to ask you, since you are a subject lead and you are more, in line with the course design and the curriculum design, I would like to ask your expert opinion on the subject design and program delivery, and how the BTEC qualifications are designed and taught such that they do instigate the required skills in the students.
Thank you very much, Kiran, and also thank you, Mr. Nassir and Raana, for inviting us here today to talk about our qualifications. It's really exciting to hear how Beaconhouse is looking to build on their success and moving into higher education. You know, one of the things that we see across the world today is governments more and more recognizing that to address the sort of skills gaps that they see in industry today and into the future requires technical knowledge, not just a theoretical university degree. And as Phil said, the Pearson qualifications really do focus on emphasizing that practical, applied knowledge rather than just theoretical knowledge. Our qualifications, as Phil said, are designed very closely in line with employers, but we're also looking at the different journeys that a student might have. So some of our graduates will go directly into employment. Others wish to move into continued study at a university towards a degree and a postgraduate degree. So we're looking very closely at making sure that the content that is designed into our qualifications provides for as many opportunities as possible. From a teaching and learning point of view, the qualifications are designed to ensure that the specification that a center starts with defines very clearly the knowledge and skill that a student needs to have for that subject. What's really unique is that we also design with a notion of flexibility involved, because studying a subject in a different country, or sometimes even a different region within a country, will have some need for differentiation. You know, the job opportunities in one part of the world are not necessarily the job opportunities in another. The kinds of roles that a student might develop into may be different. And so we design our qualifications with a level of flexibility to allow you to customize that qualification through the way that you deliver the qualification, through the types of work that you require students to do, so that they can be better prepared for the environment in which they will be working or continuing their study. And I think that's a really important feature of the way that we're really trying to empower the teaching teams in our partner institutions to recognize that they have a unique part to play in defining the way students are prepared for their future. The way that we help to ensure that is we also provide lots of training and support material for colleges to build up their capacity to deliver our qualifications. One of the challenges that we often see is that some of those really advanced technical skills, some of the things that Mr. Kasuri was mentioning around, automation and machine learning and artificial intelligence, some of those require very, very specialized skills, which sometimes teachers don't have. So the other thing that we're really keen to support in the way that you deliver qualifications is your ability to bring in industry into your qualifications. In the same way that we design with industry, we really promote the idea that you bring industry into your teaching and learning. So that may be working with a local employer to give students access to the environment where some of these kinds of skills get deployed, or actually bringing people in to do teaching with your team. So that idea of building up skills is really crucial when you start to think about the fact that, you know, when we talk to employers, often the technical skills are essential, but they also need some of those employability skills that Phil mentioned. You know, when we talk to Siemens or KPMG and ask them what they look for in their recruitment, a lot of what they talk about is the graduate's ability to be adaptable and flexible, that they're able to deal with change in a business environment, and that's one of the key things that an applied education really gives students, that they're not just being tested through an exam to understand what knowledge they have. They're actually being challenged to apply that knowledge into a project that's based on a real world scenario. So not only do they prove that they have the knowledge, but they prove that they understand how to use that knowledge. And that's what employers are really looking for, is can you do what I need you to do, and have the technical knowledge that goes with that. So I think, you know, one of the things that we're really excited by is, you know, continuing to work with Beaconhouse International as they develop into the higher nationals in business, and, you know, hopefully in the future we'll start to be able to expand that range to include, you know, some of the other qualifications that Pearson offers, which you know, are equally in demand in Pakistan. And I think it's really important, you know, what Mr. Kasuri said about, you know, the ability to study a qualification in your home country, you know, so in Pakistan, but actually that qualification creates opportunities beyond that. You know, we have the Degree Course Finder, which is a website that we've developed that gives students information about, if I've studied this higher national subject, what universities will accept that qualification. And those are increasingly qualifications, you know, predominantly in the UK, but we're starting to see Australian universities accept our qualifications and recognize them as a progression route into degrees. So studying a national or a higher national really gives students an opportunity to, you know, be in that safe home environment, you know, if that's what they wish to have. But it doesn't mean that they don't have opportunities beyond that. You know, the international character of what the qualifications offer is a route to many different things, and we're excited to work with Beaconhouse in taking that forward.
Thank you so much, Phil. Geoffrey, thank you so much for that. And I think it's really interesting how these are designed, how they're assessed, how they provide the students with a certain kind of flexibility. And as you mentioned, that obviously they are designed based on what the industry requires. My question, one of the questions that we receive very frequently, and one that we have also got from our viewers, is that Mr. Vakarsha, they want to know how are you planning on creating industry relationships such that BTech students or graduates can find the right placements once they graduate?
Thank you, Karan. We are planning to, you know, in fact, it is in the pipeline that Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are going to engage with them so that we can have a larger base, and where we can do the industry linkages between the centers which are offering BTech qualifications and the industry which is requiring those students. So this is in the pipeline. Hopefully, I'll be sharing with you the great news pretty soon.
Great, thank you. There is another question that I have here. So, Mr. Phil, if you would like to take this one. So one of my viewers want to know that what kind of apprenticeship standards are achieved once a BTech student qualifies. So if he or she was to do a higher national diploma in business and management, for example, what apprenticeship standards could he or she qualify for? Or what are the additional exemptions they can claim for certifications?
Yes, it's. I mean, we map our BTech qualifications into a whole range of apprenticeship standards. So we've most recently done that with the redeveloped International level 3 programs. BTEC is designed to, in a way, take a step beyond apprenticeship, in the sense that you have the opportunity to develop your knowledge as well as your practical skills. So we recognise that they are situated in college, and the programs are designed so that you're tackling practical skill alongside knowledge, and you're bringing your knowledge to bear in terms of your assessed outcomes. So what we tend to find is that we map into knowledge criteria at level 3 apprenticeships, and what we do, I think it's fair to say that the basis has been in the past has been the England apprenticeships, the UK standards. But what we're increasingly doing is working with other countries across the world to understand their frameworks and how we can map our qualifications into those frameworks. And we're quite prepared to contextualise our curriculum and make that work within countries. So that's an option for us when we're working in Pakistan, is to make sure that the mapping process is going to be right for the country, and that links into what Mr. Wacker was saying in terms of those relationships which we're building within Pakistan in terms of working with employers. So it's, we see BTEC as an international framework with an international standard, but the opportunity to map into local standards to help facilitate and help learners to make those progressions into higher national or into degrees or into employment or higher apprenticeships across the range.
Wonderful. Thank you, Phil. If Mr. Jaffer, if you can add to the same, because I know that there are certain exemptions that are inbuilt into the BTEC programs. So if you can elaborate a little on that.
Absolutely. I mean, building on what Phil has said, one of the things we do with the higher nationals is we always aim to develop our qualifications in line with the appropriate professional bodies, and often we start with those that have an international reach. So our higher nationals in business, for example, have exemption from aspects of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA. Similarly, depending on the pathway you do, we've also got exemptions from the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, and we're constantly reviewing those and looking at other professional bodies that may be relevant to a particular subject area. One of the things that we're seeing increasingly is that because of the way subjects at the higher levels begin to cross over between things, that we're also looking at ways in which aspects of a business qualification may give you partial exemption from a business-related construction professional body, or a media qualification could address certain things about a marketing professional recognition. So we're always looking at what those professional bodies are, what their criteria are, and how we can ensure that our qualifications take a student on a journey, not just to a qualification, but actually a journey that's into their professional standing as well.
Great. And I think that's wonderful news for a lot of students who would like to undertake some certifications and maybe more professional qualifications once they move on with their studies. So I think that is amazing how not only are they going to get the hands-on experience, the transferable skills, but also be able to gain from the professional certifications point of view. So I think these are the questions. Mr. Vakarsha was, thank you. I was not able to thank you earlier, that you provided such a wonderful insight into the entire BTEC qualifications. We would end at that note. I would request Mr. Nassir Kasuri if he could provide his concluding remarks over the webinar and how his experience has been over this.
Thank you, Kiran. Yeah, I would like to, well, of course, thank all of our panelists for joining us here today. I've found their comments extremely insightful myself. In fact, I've learned a few things, and I've probably picked up a few themes which I'd like to discuss further with some of the panelists going forward from here. It's I just like to say again that for Beaconhouse, it's a very exciting time. It's a where we're sort of transitioning into a phase where we're providing more higher education opportunities to our students. We're aligning ourselves more with industry requirements. We're aligning ourselves with 21st century requirements. We're engaging with leading industry experts from all over the world to realign our entire K-12 offering and also offer undergraduate and vocational training programs that align with what is going to be required in the marketplace in the 21st century to ensure that our students have the best employment opportunities available in Pakistan and internationally. So it really is a very, very exciting time for us. All the panelists today have added tremendously to my knowledge base, and I'm sure they've done the same for the students. I'd like to thank all of the viewers today, students, parents, and others who have tuned in to watch these sessions. I hope that it's answered a lot of your questions. But if you have any other questions, of course, the big team is there to answer any questions you might have. And we're really, really excited to bring this new, diverse portfolio of educational offerings to the Pakistani student and parent community. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.